Hey guys, tonight we're taking a slow walk back in time to a place where daylight was precious and darkness was feared. No streetlights, no smartphones, no neighbor's porch light blinking through your window, just the hush of straw-lined paths, the snap of shutters being locked, and a cold wind slipping through the cracks in a wooden wall. You've just arrived in a medieval town at sunset. The sun is that last streak of gold behind the chapel spire, and already you feel it. People are hurrying, doors closing faster, voices quieter. You hear the clang of an iron bell. That's not a church bell. It's the town's curfew signal. You've got maybe 5 minutes before they close the outer gate, and if you're still out there, well, let's just say you're not going to be invited to anyone's dinner. And trust me, you wouldn't survive a single night out there. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from tonight? What time is it where you are? Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You hurry your pace, the cobblestones clacking beneath your boots. Around you, shopkeepers sweep their doorsteps, snuff out the candles in their stalls, and vanish behind creaky shutters. The blacksmith finishes hammering a hinge and doesn't bother to wave goodbye. Not because he's rude, but because the bell is ringing. That sound changes the rules. It divides the day from the danger. In the Middle Ages, a curfew wasn't just a suggestion, it was a law. The word itself comes from the old French couvre-feu, meaning cover fire. That is, put out your fire. Extinguish all flame before darkness falls. On paper, it was about preventing house fires from spreading across timber towns. But in practice, it was a form of containment, of fear management, because night meant more than just the absence of light. It meant lawlessness, superstition, sounds you couldn't name, shapes you hoped were just a trick of the moon. The gate is closing now. You see it, a heavy wooden barrier, bound in thick iron, lowering with a groan and a deep, final thunk. A guard mutters something about the wolves being restless. Wolves? In the town? He doesn't explain. You step into a cramped alley and reach the house where you're staying. It's a 2-story timber frame, barely wide enough to stretch out your arms. You knock once, twice, then the door creaks open. A woman in a wool tunic eyes you sharply, candle in hand. "Get in," she whispers. "You shouldn't be out." Inside, the warmth of the hearth wraps around you like a blanket. But it's short-lived. They're dousing the fire already. The oldest daughter shovels ash over the glowing coals. The sun drops the heavy beam across the door. And then comes the quiet. Not peaceful quiet. The other kind. The kind that feels listening. The room glows with one candle. That's all they'll allow. Candles are expensive, and besides, too much light might draw attention. From what, you ask? Well, that depends who you're willing to believe. Some say thieves. Bands of drifters who roam from village to village after dark, pushing doors to see which one's open. They'll take your bread, your tools, even your animals. Sometimes they take your child. If you're lucky, they leave it at the edge of the forest. If you're not, others say it's not people you have to fear. It's the air itself. The night air was considered dangerous. Damp, cold, corrupted. The kind of air that crept into your lungs and didn't leave until you coughed blood. Miasma, they called it. That's why so many homes burn dried herbs at dusk, hoping to chase it off. And then there are the old ones, the grandparents, the ones who remember when the baker's boy vanished after knocking on the wrong door past curfew. when the parish priest was found sleepwalking barefoot down the road, whispering in Latin, and never woke up again. They don't talk much, these elders. But when they do, it's always after dark, and it's never cheerful. You settle in on a straw mattress upstairs, one of 20 people packed into 2 rooms. The windows are closed and covered with oiled parchment. The candle has been pinched out. You lie there, eyes wide open, ears sharper than usual. You hear someone whispering a prayer. You hear the dog in the alley start barking, then whimper, then silence. You imagine you hear a soft knock. You tell yourself it's just the wind. Let's pause here for a moment. You might think, but weren't towns supposed to be safe? That's where you'd find a wall, guards, even a priest or 2. But curfews weren't just about keeping people out. They were about keeping something else in. A record from 1386 in York speaks of a man fined for leaving his house after sunset without permission. But it also tells of another man, unnamed, who was not fined. Because no one could find his body. Only his shoes were left behind, still pointed toward the open road. Historians still debate whether curfews were genuinely enforced out of concern for public order, or if they were a cover for something more psychological, a collective ritual, a way to agree, without admitting it, that the dark terrified everyone. You turn over on the mattress, trying to find a softer spot. The straw crunches beneath you. Someone's baby coughs in the next room. A woman mutters about a bad dream. You're not sure she's even asleep. And outside, beyond the walls, the town changes shape. During the day, every building has a name. Every road has a face. But now, they all vanish. Shadows stretch and bend. The butcher's stall is just a square of deeper darkness. The chapel is a jagged outline against the sky. The well in the center of the square. It's just a hole now. You don't want to look at it too long, because you might see something look back. You cover your head with a blanket and try to forget the echo of that knock you never heard. Tomorrow, you tell yourself. You'll ask someone about it in the morning, but not now, never now, because the bell has rung and the doors are S. And that means the world no longer belongs to you. It belongs to the dark and the things that thrive in it. And somehow you drift to sleep, though you don't quite remember how. The last thing you hear before slumber takes you is the sound of someone breathing beside you. And you hope, deeply, that it's someone you know. The breath beside you deepens. Someone shifts under the covers. You don't open your eyes. You don't want to. Because here, in this dark little room, with 20 other people tucked onto mattresses and under threadbare wool, it's better to keep your eyes shut. That way, you don't have to know whose breathing changed. You survive the night. Barely. And when the pale blue of dawn creeps in through the oiled parchment windows, like light being filtered through skin, the town begins to stir. You sit up, spine stiff, neck sore. Someone's already outside, calling to the chickens. The blacksmith's fire is being coaxed back to life. You stretch, and for the briefest moment, you're sure last night was exaggerated in your memory. The darkness couldn't have been that bad. Then someone tells you about the shoes. Again, different pair this time. Left out by the well. Small, worn smooth at the heels. No one claims them. People talk about it like they talk about the weather, with shrugs, with knowing glances, with just enough fear to suggest that no one really wants to investigate. They just want the shoes to go away. You help sweep the alley. It's what guests do. You try to forget how dry your mouth was all night, how often you held your breath to listen, how your fingers refused to uncurl for hours. That's just what medieval sleep is like. Tense, thin, breakable. A nap, really, wrapped in hope. But tonight you'll be ready. Tonight you won't be so scared. Right? You spend your day doing small chores, hauling water, grinding grain, listening to gossip while picking stones out of lentils. Someone says they heard a whisper from the town wall last night. Another swears they saw a face in the fog. And a child says she dreamed of a black dog with no eyes, standing by the window. No one laughs. Then, just before sunset, it happens again. The bell. Low, slow, steady, it vibrates in your teeth. Not a clanging bell of alarm, but one of resignation. It doesn't scream. It tells. It's time. One of the elders nods. Behind closed doors, she murmurs. And everyone gets to work. You follow them, watching this little choreography that unfolds every evening. The shutters are pulled tight. The fire is banked and buried. The chickens are locked in, even the mean one. The baby is wrapped twice. A bundle of rosemary and sage is hung on the inside of the doorframe. You ask about it. The old woman glances at you. To keep the voices out. You wait for a joke. There is none. The curfew isn't just about keeping citizens in. It's about keeping certain things out. Or maybe, just maybe, it's the other way around. That's the trouble with fear. It doesn't always tell you what direction it's pointing. That night, the house settles faster. Everyone speaks more quietly. Even the cat is subdued, curling up by the warm stone instead of prowling the beams. You lie down again, but this time, something is different. You're not scared. You're curious. And that's when you do something not quite medieval. You get back up. The door's barred, of course, and you're not foolish enough to undo that. But the upstairs window, it's small, covered in stretched parchment, yes, but if you peel the corner back, you do. And outside, the town looks like it's holding its breath. There's no movement, no sound, just soft moonlight dusting the rooftops like frost. You think for a moment that this might all be an exaggeration, superstition, sleep-deprived paranoia. Then you hear it, a whisper, not words, not even a voice, really, more like breath that's shaped like words, coming from the street just below. You lean closer, and you see something. It moves like a shadow that forgot how to lie flat. It's slow, careful, purposeful, like someone checking doors, one by one, testing the handles, pausing, listening. You want to believe it's a watchman, but no watchman moves like that. No watchman has arms that long. You step back, slowly. Your skin feels too tight. Your heart isn't beating faster. It's beating quieter, like it doesn't want to be noticed. You lower the parchment. You lie back down. You don't sleep. When the sun rises, your face is pale and your pillow is damp. You tell no one what you saw. Not yet. Instead, you ask someone else what they saw, and the answers come fast. Someone heard nails on their shutters. Someone else smelled something burning but found no fire. A third says she dreamed of a child calling her name. But it was the voice of her brother, who died 5 winters ago. She says she followed it to the door, says she almost opened it. You remember the shadow, the long arms, the way it paused, like it was listening for something, like it was waiting, like it didn't need to break in. Because sometimes people opened up. Just a crack. Just enough. Now, let's slow this down for a moment. Because historians still debate whether any of this can be considered real folklore, or just coincidental fear patterns passed between generations. The term night visitors appears in a few parish records, usually alongside vague accusations and poorly spelled testimonies. But some documents go further. In one 14th century village near the coast, Residents filed a petition to build a second gate inside the town, not because they feared attack, but because the roads did not remain empty after the bell. You'll hear this phrase more than once. The roads did not remain empty. So the question becomes, who was walking them, and why? That day, the baker gives you a small loaf for free. You're not sure why. He just says, "You look like someone who didn't sleep." And you don't correct him. That evening, the bell rings again, but this time, something shifts. The old woman, the one who lit the rosemary last night, doesn't move. She sits by the door, hands in her lap, eyes open. You ask what she's doing. She says, "I've seen it. The shape, like smoke with a spine." You ask why she didn't tell anyone. She says, "What good would it do?" It always comes back. She sleeps by the door that night, and no one argues. The others seem relieved, like some unspoken rotation has been fulfilled, like it's her turn. That night, you sleep more deeply, and just before you dream, you think of the thing in the street and how it paused, and how maybe, just maybe, it was listening for your breath. Morning arrives slower this time. It doesn't break like a wave. It seeps like warm water rising between your toes. You open your eyes, and the old woman is still by the door. Her back is straight. Her eyes are closed, but she's not asleep. She says, without turning, "It didn't knock last night." The others nod as if that's a good thing, as if the absence of knocking is somehow worse. You stretch quietly and try not to think about how the floor creaked once, just once, after midnight. They make porridge with barley and goat milk. You eat in silence with the rest. Someone makes a joke about the baker's son courting the weaver's daughter, and it lands flat. Even the children are quieter. You're not the only one who didn't sleep. The family is shifting. You can feel it in the way they don't meet each other's eyes, in the way they oversalt the soup, in the way they let the door creak a little longer before shutting it. That night, you decide not to sleep at all. And this time, you prepare. You fold a piece of cloth and wedge it in the window latch so you can peel the parchment back more easily. You fill a jug with water and leave it by your bed. You memorize the way the moonlight lands on the crossbeam of the wall, and you wait. The bell tolls, once, twice, 3 times. You count them as if they matter, and then the quiet begins again. Except it's not quiet. The medieval night is alive with sounds. A dog barking in the far quarter, wind whistling past chimney pots, a soft clatter, maybe a loose shutter, or maybe not. You focus, you breathe shallowly, and then you hear it, a footstep, not hurried, not hesitant, measured, like someone who belongs, except they don't. You lean toward the window, breath held. Down in the alley between the baker's wall and the barrel yard, there it is again, the shape. But it's different tonight. It's closer. You can see the outline of shoulders, impossibly narrow, like they'd been pressed between walls for too long. The legs move in slow arcs, as if dragging something heavy behind. It stops. Right beneath your window, you don't move. It lifts its head. And even from that distance, even in the dark, you know, it sees you. But then something strange happens. It doesn't come closer. It turns and walks away. You lie awake the rest of the night, not knowing whether to feel relief or dread. The next morning, you speak with the blacksmith. He's a tall man with arms like tree roots and a voice like cracked stone. You ask if he's ever seen anything, unusual after dark. He stops hammering, wipes his hands, looks at you for a long time, then says, "I heard a knock once. Open the door. Nothing there. but my hammer was missing. Next morning, found it in the bread oven. He doesn't smile. Then he says, "They don't always take people." You ask him what they are. He says, "No one agrees." But they're always on time. At first you think he's joking, but his tone is flat. The kind of flat that means the joke is for you, not him. Later that day, you speak with a midwife. She's old enough to remember when the town square had gallows, not a market stall. She tells you, "The bell keeps us honest." You ask, "Honest about what?" She says, "About the fact that we're not alone at night." You laugh, just a little. She doesn't, and then she says something else. Sleep is a fragile contract, and sometimes we forget who we're making it with. You don't know what that means. You don't ask. That night, before the bell, you take a walk through the upper streets. It's nearly dusk and most people are heading indoors. You pass the tannery, the mill, the cooper's shop. At the edge of town, near the oldest wall, you find something odd. A door. Not built into a house, but into the wall itself. It's small, half height, metal hinges, no handle. You ask a boy nearby what it is. He shrugs, says, "It opens sometimes." You ask, "Who opens it?" He says, "No one knows. But someone always closes it by dawn." When you return home, the mood is colder. Someone's missing. The old woman who sat by the door? She's not there. You ask where she's gone. They say she left before sunrise. No one saw her go. No one opens the door to check. That night, you sit in her place, just to see what it feels like. The door is cold. The beam across it is heavy. You press your ear to the wood. Nothing. And then, just as you start to lean away, you feel a tap. Not loud, not forceful, just a polite, deliberate tap. Right on the other side. You don't scream, you don't even breathe. You just wait. The tap does not come again. You back away. You sleep eventually. On the floor. No mattress. And in the morning there's a footprint on the outside of the door. One single print, upside down. Like someone walked up the wall and then gently down the door. You don't tell anyone, but the midwife passes you in the street and says quietly, it always knocks twice. Then she keeps walking. You're not sure if that's a warning or a countdown. You don't speak all day, not out of fear, not exactly, out of preservation, as if words are precious now, and once spoken they might draw something's attention. The others notice your silence, but they don't push. One of the children offers you a boiled egg. You take it. You nod. That's enough. Because last night, the tap on the door wasn't a dream, and the footprint wasn't yours, and the air felt used somehow, like someone else had breathed it first, so you keep quiet, and the world keeps turning. But in this place, in this year, turning means shrinking. As if each night the town gets smaller, like the dark bites off corners, and no one notices until the light comes back and something is missing. The curfew bell sounds earlier tonight, not by the clock, but in your bones. It tolls while the sun still lingers, and this time you feel the town collectively wince, as if the sound isn't announcing something's coming, but that it's already here. They bolt the doors quicker. No one lingers to gossip. Even the blacksmith, always the last to close, leaves his forge cold. And tonight, for the first time, the family doesn't light a candle. Too bright, someone mutters. You lie in the dark with them, your ear trained on the silence. But tonight, there's a new sound. Breathing, not close, not loud, but rhythmic. Wet, from beyond the door. Then, scratch. Not claws, not nails. Something softer, like linen, like fingertips sliding along the wood, feeling for imperfections. The room goes rigid. No one moves. The breathing continues, and then the second tap, just like the midwife said. You wonder, is it a request or a confirmation? You don't sleep, not properly. You fade in and out, drifting on the surface of unconsciousness like a body in a shallow stream. At some point, the sound fades, or maybe your mind closes a door of its own. When dawn comes, no one speaks of it, but there's no bread on the table. And the child who offered you the egg? She won't leave her mother's side. That morning, you gather the courage to visit the chapel. You find the priest sweeping the nave with slow, tired strokes. He's young, too young for the black circles under his eyes. You ask if the church hears the bell. He says it hears it first. You ask about the curfew. He says it was never meant for people. You wait for him to elaborate. He doesn't. Instead, he takes you behind the altar, into a storage room lined with old hymnals and damp stone. There, he lifts a candle and shows you a mark. A small etching, nearly invisible, carved into the wall in the shape of a circle crossed by 3 vertical lines. You ask what it means. He says, it's older than the church. He lights the candle and holds it near the symbol. The flame gutters, flickers sideways, then steadies. You saw it, didn't you? He asks. You say nothing. That's enough, he replies. He hands you a small satchel. Inside, a bundle of herbs, a red string, and a tiny bell. Hang it above your bed, he says. You do. And that night, you listen again. The town outside seems quieter than ever, as if every soul has pulled back into their skin and folded the flap shut. You can almost believe you're alone. Then, at midnight, you hear the bell ring. But not the curfew bell, your bell, the little one, tied above your bed. It tinkles once, then again. Something is in the room. You freeze. The breathing isn't outside anymore. It's here. But it's not chaotic, not snarling, not monstrous. It's steady, gentle. It's close. And then you feel something graze your arm, like fabric, like someone brushing past in a narrow hallway. You don't open your eyes, because part of you knows. You're being counted, measured, weighed, not judged. That would be too human. No, just catalogued. And as you lie there, still as bone, you remember something the blacksmith said. They don't always take people. You fall asleep not from peace, but from exhaustion. When you wake, the bell is gone. The string above your bed is cut, but nothing else is missing. Not your shoes, not your name, not yet. You step outside into the morning fog. A neighbor nods to you, just barely. The bread is back. The market stirs. Everything looks the same. But you can feel it now. The slow subtraction. Whatever this is, it doesn't take everything at once. It waits. It watches. And it always knocks twice. You don't tell anyone about the cut string. Not the priest, not the midwife, not even the child who offered you the egg. Because something in you whispers, if you speak of it, it comes back sooner. Instead, you pretend. You eat bread. You nod when spoken to. You fetch water from the well, though now you avoid looking directly into it. You hum tunelessly while you sweep the threshold. You do all the things a person does when they haven't been touched by something unnamed in the night. You do them well, and the town lets you, because they're pretending too. That evening, as you pass by the square, you see a small group gathered near a wagon. A merchant has arrived, rare this time of year. His cart is low to the ground, covered in canvas stitched with a pattern you don't recognize. He sells herbs, wax, iron nails shaped like stars. But what really catches your eye are the bells. Not little ones like the priest gave you. These are heavy, deep, more like gongs than charms. They hang from thick leather straps, and none of them ring, not even when the wind jostles them. You ask the merchant where he got them. He says, "I don't make them. I just help them move." You ask, "Move where?" He shrugs. "Wherever people hear footsteps at night." You want to buy one. You reach for your coin, but your fingers stop. The bell you had was taken. Would another help? Or just make you easier to find? You walk away. That night, the curfew bell sounds later than usual, and it sounds off. Not higher or lower, just strange, as if it had to travel farther to reach your ears. The family doesn't comment, but they close the shutters tighter, and no one lights even a cooking fire. You lie in your straw bed and stare at the rafters, and that's when you hear it. Laughter, software young, unnatural, coming from the alley, then a thud, then footsteps, running but not away, toward. You sit up. Someone else stirs. The weaver's boy, bunked beside the door, reaches for the latch. "No," you whisper. He pauses. You repeat it. "No." He stares at you, blinks, and lies back down. The running stops outside, and for a long while, all you hear is your own pulse. You wait, you breathe, and you almost think it's over, until someone knocks. 3 times, not twice. 3. The rule has changed. You don't sleep, not because you're afraid, but because you're learning. This isn't a haunting, it's a pattern, and patterns can be followed, predicted. The next morning, the well is roped off. Someone fell in, they say. No one saw it. No one goes to look, but the bucket is gone, and there are fingernail marks on the inside of the stone wall. You decide it's time to visit the gatekeeper. His name is Brodar. He's old, not frail, but anchored. The kind of man who talks to you without looking at you, as if your voice comes from a place he's already been. You ask about the gates, how they're locked, when they're opened. He says, "We seal them at sunset." Not because of the outside. You ask what he means. He says, "Sometimes things leave, but they were already inside." You ask him if that's always been true. He nods. "Since the first stones were laid, maybe before." You ask what lies beyond the gate. He says, "Fields, forest, silence, and on certain nights, not silence." You thank him. You go home. That night the bell doesn't ring. Not the curfew bell, not your little bell, nothing. The silence is worse. It doesn't blanket. You don't feel safe. It hollows. You hear no footsteps, no knocking. But still, you don't sleep, because your eyes are drawn to the window, and you realize it's open, just a crack, just enough for something to see in. You don't remember opening it. You close it, you bar it, you breathe, and then you smell smoke, not fire. Herbs. The bundle that used to hang on the door frame. It's burning, but no one lit it. Historians still debate whether these curfews were part of a structured system of surveillance, or if they were a kind of social pressure. A community-wide ritual designed to enforce compliance without real enforcement. In some villages, bells were outlawed during plague years, supposedly to prevent panic. But there's another theory, that silence wasn't meant to calm the people. It was meant to trick something else, to make it think we weren't here. Tonight, you don't pretend. You don't hum. You don't nod. You sit on the floor back to the wall and you wait. For the sound, for the step, for the knock, but nothing comes. Until just before dawn. You hear the bell, not the town's, not yours. A new bell, faint, far, but moving closer. The bell is distant, at first. So faint it could be a trick of your heartbeat or a cart shifting its weight somewhere far beyond the gates. But it's not, because it rings again. Clearer this time. Heavier. It doesn't chime with rhythm. It swings, dragging its note like a foot across stone. You press your ear to the shutter. The cold of the oiled parchment bites you, and from out there, you hear it. Step, step, ring. Someone, or something, is walking the street with a bell. You don't know what that means. No one does. But your body understands before your mind does. You retreat from the window, quiet, shaking. And outside, the bell continues its march through the town. Ring, step, ring. You wonder if it's a warning, or a countdown, or maybe it's a signal for something else to begin. The rest of the household stays asleep, or they pretend to be. That's become hard to tell. You glance toward the door. No light under it, no voices. The bundle of herbs burned itself out the night before, and no one replaced it. You feel the weight of that absence. So you reach into your bag and tie the red string the priest gave you across the inside of the door. You don't know if it works. You don't even know what it's for, but it makes you feel like you're doing something. And that's better than the other option. Waiting. When the bell finally fades, when it leaves your street, you exhale, but you don't let your shoulders drop. Because whatever carried it didn't ring for you, which means it might come back. The next time, it might not bother with the bell at all. By morning, you expect panic. Instead, you find silence, but not the good kind, the cautious kind, like the whole town agreed to pretend nothing happened. Again. You pass the merchant in the square. He's packing up. His bells don't make a sound, even as they jostle. You ask where he's going. He says, west. You ask why. He says, east is already gone. You don't ask what that means. Instead, you wander, past the smithy, past the bakery, and finally, to the door in the wall, the one with no handle. You kneel beside it, trying to understand. It's small, child height. The stone around it is worn smooth. No keyhole, just the faintest outline like it was drawn in charcoal then forgotten. And you see something new. A crack, not in the door itself, but in the wall beside it. A thin, pale line, like a smile carved into stone. You reach toward it, and the stone is warm. You recoil, then hear footsteps behind you. It's the midwife. She doesn't speak right away, just stares at the door. Finally, she says, "They have used it before." You ask who. She says, "We don't name them. We never did." You ask what's behind it. She says, "Whatever we tried to leave behind." And then, with a glance at the sky, she adds, "But it's not behind anymore." She leaves you there. And you realize, for the first time, this door isn't just a relic. It's a hinge. Something swings open, or shut, depending on what walks the street. That night, no bell rings, but everyone closes early. No one says why. There's no curfew signal, no spoken warning. But as the sun vanishes, the town locks itself down tighter than ever. Even the priest bars the chapel gate, and just before night fully falls, you see something chilling. The red string on your door has been cut again, clean, sharp, no fraying. Just a single, perfect sever. You replace it, tie it 3 times. You watch it all night. It doesn't move. But still, your skin crawls. At some point, you sleep. Not from comfort, not from safety, just from exhaustion. And when you wake, everything is wrong. The air smells of iron. The window is open again. And this time, the entire house is silent. You rise slowly, walk past the others. All of them asleep, but too still. You call out, once, twice. No one stirs. You rush to the door. The string is intact, but the floorboards beneath it are dusted with ash. Not from the hearth, from outside. You unbolt the door, you open it, and the street is empty. The morning sun is thin, gray, colorless. You step out and see it. Footprints. Dozens of them, leading from door to door, as if someone or something had visited every home in town. You look up at the watchtower. No guard. You listen for the forge. No hammer. You listen for the bell. No chime. You are alone. Or perhaps you are not. The silence doesn't feel like peace. It feels like a trap. You stand in the center of the street, barefoot, blinking against a colorless morning. The wind doesn't blow. The birds don't sing. Even the flies seem to have disappeared. The doors around you are all closed. Everyone. You walk to the neighbor's house, the weaver, the one who used to hum in her sleep. You knock, no answer. You knock again. Still nothing. Your hand shakes as you reach for the latch. The door creaks open. Inside, darkness. Not just shadow. Absence. You whisper a hello. Silence answers. The hearth is cold. The bed is made. The floorboards hold no dust, no footprints. The house is empty, not looted, not ransacked, just gone. You stumble backward and close the door. Then you check another house, and another, and another, all of them the same, empty. But no signs of struggle, no spilled porridge, no dropped boots, no knocked over chairs, as if the people simply vanished, mid-breath. You feel your lungs tighten. You're not afraid of being alone. You're afraid of being the only one left behind. By midday, you've walked the full circle of the town. You've passed the market stalls, the blacksmith's forge, the grain store, the chapel, the well. You see no one. No voices call out. No shutters creak. Even the cats are gone. And yet, you can't shake the feeling that you're being watched. Not directly. Not from a window or behind a tree, but from a place deeper than vision. Like the town itself is aware now, as if it's awake, and it's looking at you. You return to the house, not because it's safer, but because it's the only place with your scent on it. You sit by the hearth, you don't light it, and you think, if the town is emptied, if the red string didn't stop it, if the bell ringer has already passed, then maybe this isn't about warning people anymore. Maybe it's about marking survivors. That night, for the first time in days, the curfew bell rings again. But this time, it doesn't sound like it's coming from the tower. It sounds like it's coming from underground. Low, muffled, echoing up through the stone like a voice buried for too long. Dong, dong. You don't bolt the door, you don't relight the string, you don't hide. Because what's the point? Instead, you walk to the center of the room, and you speak. Is this what you wanted? Your voice cracks. Did I pass your test or fail it? No answer. You sit down, and then you hear something move in the wall. Not outside, inside, behind the stone. It shifts like fabric. A dragging sound, a press of weight, like something huge trying to roll over inside a space too small. You place your hand on the stone. It's warm again, and then a whisper. So soft you're not sure it's real, but it's not in your ear, it's in your mind. The bell marks what remains. You leap back. The stone is cold again. Everything stills. You sleep on the floor, and when you wake, the world is bright. Normal. Bird song. Smoke from chimneys. Laughter. You rush to the window, and the town is back. People carrying baskets, children running, a horse being led by a boy who's too small for the reins. You fling open the door and stare. The weaver waves to you. The baker's boy hands you a roll. The midwife nods, knowingly. No one mentions being gone. No one remembers. But you do. And on your doorstep, something waits. A bell. Cracked. Silent. Yours and not yours. Historians still puzzle over sudden disappearances in medieval towns. Days with no entries in the parish records. Weeks unaccounted for in the journals of traveling friars. Often dismissed as clerical errors or lost ink. Some scholars whisper a different theory, that the records were never written because for those days there was nothing human to record. You pick up the bell, you don't ring it. you never will. But you hang it on your wall, and every night you listen. Not for the sound it makes, but for the sound it doesn't. For 3 nights, the bell stays silent. The town breathes normally again, whatever normal was before all this. You hear laughter at the well. You see chickens pecking between carts. The blacksmith's hammer resumes its rhythm, and the priest even gives a sermon about divine light, as if the darkness never clawed at the doors. But you know better. You keep your routines. Sweep the step, draw water, tend the fire, and you watch. Because things look the same, but they aren't. The old woman by the door never came back. No one asks about her. The boy who almost opened the door, he limps now. His eyes are sunken, and when you speak to him, his responses lag, like they have to travel a long way through his body before they reach his mouth. He tells you he has dreams now. You're in them, he says. You ask what you're doing. He says, watching, with no eyes. You don't visit him again. That night, something new happens. You lie in bed, half asleep, listening for the world outside. No footsteps, no knocks. Then, a song, soft, far away. A woman's voice, but it's wrong. The melody never resolves. The notes repeat, but they don't close. Like a lullaby stuck in a loop. You rise, carefully. Press your face to the shutter, and you see it. Someone walking alone down the street. A woman in a white shift, hair long and tangled, barefoot. She hums as she walks. Slowly, rhythmically. The tune curls around your mind like smoke. You whisper into the dark, "Who are you?" She stops, turns her head. And though you're sure she can't see through the shutter, you feel her gaze settle behind your eyes. Then she opens her mouth wider than a song should require and hums your name. You fall backward. The sound doesn't stop. It follows you into the floorboards, into your chest, into your dreams. You wake gasping, your nails digging into the wool blanket. Morning. Everything's normal again. Except one thing. On your windowsill there's a flower. Blue. Unfamiliar. Wet with dew though it hasn't rained. You touch it. It sings, faintly. The same melody. You crush it. It still sings, muffled now. You throw it into the hearth and light a fire. It hisses once, then goes silent. The midwife corners you later. "You saw her," she says. You nod. She doesn't always come this early. You ask what she wants. The midwife doesn't answer right away, just looks up at the sky. Then she says, "Some say she counts the sleepers. Others say she sings for the ones who open the door." You ask if that means someone else will disappear. "No," she says. "She only comes when it's time to bring someone back." You don't understand. Not until that night, when the bell rings again, but this time, it's not the curfew. It's not yours. It's the little girl's, the one who used to bring you eggs. The sound is sharp, clear, not a warning. A call. You burst from your bed. The girl's mother is already at the door, sobbing. The string above their threshold is in tatters. No herbs, no flame. You rush in. But the bed is empty, not made, not neat, just gone. As if a small body was peeled away from this world without resistance. You search, the family searches. No trace. But then, at sunrise, you find it. A small footprint in the dust near the chapel gate. Leading toward the door in the wall, you follow it. You kneel. You press your hand to the stone. It's warm, again. And then, you hear the song. Not sung. Hummed. From behind the wall, not a voice. A chorus. Low. Layered. Distant. The same melody from the night before, only now you understand. They're not trying to lure you. They're trying to remember you. Each note is a name, and yours is already part of the harmony. You back away. You run. And for the first time, you notice something new. No shadows. Not a single one. At dawn, The town is still there, but it casts no shadow. The sun rises. The light hits the houses, and nothing bends beneath it. No long lines on the ground, no silhouettes, nothing. Like the world forgot how to reflect, and you realize something else is walking in your place. The world without shadows feels weightless, like a stage with no backdrop. You walk through the square at noon and see the sunlight fall, clean, perfect, but nothing answers it. The barrels cast no curves, the thatched eaves draw no lines. Even you, when you glance down, have no dark twin beneath your feet, and yet no one mentions it. The butcher sharpens his knives. The baker sells loaves. Children chase a hoop down the cobblestones. Everyone acts like this is fine, like they don't remember shadows ever existed. But you remember, and that makes you dangerous. You return to the chapel. The priest is lighting candles at the altar. You stand in the doorway, watching the wax drip in slow, lazy trails. Finally, you ask, "Why no shadows?" He doesn't flinch, just finishes his lighting, then says, "Shadows are made when something blocks the light." You nod. "And?" He looks up. His eyes are tired. His voice is flat. "And there's nothing left to block it." You ask what that means. He says, "Light doesn't always mean safety." You press him. "Is this the end?" He shakes his head. "Number. It's the middle." Then he shows you something. He opens the little door behind the altar again. Only this time, the symbol on the wall, the one that once flickered in candlelight. It's glowing, pale blue, faintly pulsing, alive. The priest doesn't speak. He just hands you something. Not a bell this time, a shard of mirror. You stare into it, and for the briefest moment, just one heartbeat, you see your own shadow. Flickering, fighting, trying to return, and then it's gone. You carry the shard with you all day, in your pocket, in your palm. You press it to the wall in your room. You breathe over it. It stays dull. You think about the little girl. You think about the song. You think about the shape that used to watch you from the alley. And you wonder, has it learned? Has it taken enough to build itself? Not just a presence, but a body. That night you don't sleep. You sit on the roof of the house, wrapped in a blanket, eyes trained on the alley. The moon rises full, silver, still, but casts no light and no shadow, just a cold wash of presence. You hear a knock, not on your door, on the chapel. 3 slow beats. You climb down. You walk barefoot across the silent street. No bells tonight. No sounds at all. You reach the chapel and find the door open. Inside, the candles are still burning, still melting. But the altar, empty. The priest, gone. You step forward and stop. There on the floor is his shadow. Just the shadow. Nothing else. Flat. Perfect. Still kneeling, head bowed. Like someone had peeled it from his body and left it like a prayer. You look again, and the symbol behind the altar, it's gone dark. The wall is cold, dead. And on the stones before you, something is written, not carved, not inked, just burned into the floor. 2 words, you next. You run, not home. To the door in the wall, you place the mirror shard against it. The stone ripples, just once, like water, and in the shimmer, you see a figure. It's you. But not quite. Too tall, too thin, no eyes. Just a grin, too wide, too still. Curling up like a rusted hook. It raises a hand, taps twice. You wake up gasping. You're in your bed. Dawn is here, but you feel the memory of the knock in your bones. You rise, you look at your shadow, and it's smiling. Historians still argue whether medieval curfews were enforced by force or fear. But in some banned texts, barely legible margins and blackened parchment, There are whispers of the bell walkers, the shadowless, the collectors who moved between towns, gathering the pieces people left behind in sleep. Most say these were metaphors, parables, but none can explain why some towers were built without stairs, why some bells rang only inward, or why sometimes the sun rose without casting a single line of dark. There's a trick to surviving this kind of thing. You learned it somewhere between the fourth bell and the second missing child. The trick is, don't ask the wrong questions. Not, what is it? Not, where did it come from? Not even, why me? Those are doors. And doors, if you've been paying attention, open both ways. So you ask simpler things. Small, humble questions, like, how do I keep breathing? Can I make it to dawn? And increasingly, what if dawn doesn't come next time? You begin making a list. Not with ink. That's too permanent. You scratch it into the wood beneath your bed. It's a list of people who still cast shadows. So far, it's short. The blacksmith, the baker's wife, one of the nuns. The rest? Uncertain. Not absent, not yet. But thinner, like the lights passing through more of them each day. And every morning you check your own feet. Still nothing. Your shadow never came back. You think about the little shard the priest gave you. You hold it up to the morning sun. No reflection. You breathe on it. No fog. It's not a mirror anymore. It's a window, and sometimes, late at night, you see faces in it. Not yours. Never yours. The midwife finds you by the well one afternoon. She doesn't speak at first, just offers you a slice of cheese and an old crust of bread. You thank her. She says, "They took my husband last winter." You pause. She's never mentioned him before. She continues, voice flat. "He was one of the ones who opened the door." You ask what he saw. She says, "Nothing." You nod. You've started to suspect that's the scariest answer. Then she reaches into her apron and pulls out a string. Red, newly dyed, still damp. "I've started making these again," she says, "but not to keep them out." You ask, "Then what for?" "To mark the ones who remember." She ties it around your wrist, and for the first time in weeks, you feel a little less alone. That night, you light a single candle. You place the shard of mirror beside it. You listen, and for once, you don't hear a knock. No footsteps, no song, just the faint sound of wind in the trees. And something else. A chime. Not the bell, not your bell, not the big one in the tower. This one is softer, higher, childlike. It drifts through your window like a breeze. You step outside, and you see them. Children, dozens, standing silently in the square, each with a bell in their hands. None are ringing them, not with their hands, but the bells are ringing anyway, swaying slowly, tolling without touch. Their eyes are closed, and they hum that same broken lullaby. Then one of them opens their eyes, just one, a little boy with skin like candle wax. He lifts his bell and points it at you. The ringing stops. The children vanish. You wake on the floor. Your candle has burned out. Your wrist is bare. The red string gone. The next morning, the entire town is asleep, but not naturally. Every door is shut. Every window still. You call out. No answer. You knock. No movement. You step into the baker's house. She's there, sitting upright in her chair, eyes closed, breathing, but unshakable, asleep with a stillness that isn't right. You check 3 more homes. Same thing. Everyone is sleeping, but none of them dream. You can feel it, like all the thoughts have been siphoned out, as if the whole town has been put down for the night. Except you. You and the midwife. You find her by the chapel, pacing, wild-eyed. "They're calling them back," she mutters. "This is how it starts again." You ask, "What do we do?" She laughs, bitterly. We wait. For what? She doesn't answer. But she doesn't leave your side either. And that night, as you and she sit together by a cold fire, you both hear the bell. But this time, it's inside the town. Not in the street, not beyond the gate. Inside. Footsteps on rooftops. Shadows without bodies. And bodies without shadows. You don't speak. You hold the shard between you. And you watch as it begins to glow again. Some historians claim that medieval sleep patterns were segmented. First sleep and second sleep, divided by an hour or two of wakefulness. They theorize this was used for prayer, for dreams, for intimacy. But in a few obscure texts, there's a mention of a third sleep. One no one returned from. Not a rest, not a dream. A taking. They called it the hour of thinning. The time when the world became porous, and all things that wanted in, finally could. The midwife doesn't sleep that night. Neither do you. You both sit by the window, shard between you, staring out into a town that feels like it's holding its breath. Outside, the lanterns still hang, swaying gently even though there's no wind, and the houses glow faintly from within. Not from firelight, not from candles, from something else. A soft blue shimmer that pulses once every minute, like a heartbeat, like a warning. The bell rings again, but this time it doesn't stop. It tolls for hours, always distant, always just out of reach. And with every chime, more light leaks into the cracks between the shutters. Cool light, too clean to be natural. Sometime before dawn, the midwife speaks. They're thinning the veil. You ask, between what? She says, us and them. You say nothing. She continues, it's not about fear. It never was. It's about attention. You ask, then why the bells? She sighs, to give us something else to listen to. The next day, the town stirs, but not like before. People move, yes. They talk, they barter, they bake. But they're off. Their smiles don't reach their eyes. Their feet don't quite touch the ground. And none of them cast shadows. You try to speak to the blacksmith. He nods at you, polite, but his hammer strikes air. There's no sound. You try the baker's wife. She hands you bread, but when you bite into it, it crumbles into dust. You're not speaking to them, you're speaking to echoes. You find the midwife again. She's still real, still heavy in the world. The two of you are the last, and you both know it. That night, the chapel bells ring. All of them. The tower, the altar, even the one on your wall, cracked and forgotten. They ring in unison. They call for you. The midwife grabs your hand. No, she says, not yet. She drags you to the door in the wall. You don't resist. You kneel. Place the mirror shard against the stone. This time it doesn't ripple. It opens. Not all the way. Just enough to see. And what you see isn't a place. It's a time. Your town, years ago. Before the gates, before the bells. When fire kept the dark at bay and children weren't marked by humming in their sleep. The midwife gasps. It remembers. You whisper. Who? She says. The town. And suddenly you understand. This isn't about creatures in the night. It's not about ghosts or curses or demons. It's about the memory of a place. How a village forgets what protected it. And how something else moves in when no one keeps watch. The bells go silent. The portal closes. You're back in the alley, alone. No midwife, just her red string torn and burned at one end, lying where she stood. You take it, tie it to your wrist again, and that's when you hear it, the song. But this time, it's your voice, coming from every corner of the street. You turn in circles. Your voice hums behind every door. It doesn't ask you to join. It reminds you that you already did. You run. To the tower. To the bell. To the place where this all began. You climb the winding stair, higher than you've ever gone. You reach the belfry. The great iron bell looms over you. Its rope hangs still. You pull it. Once. Twice. 3 times. Each strike cracks the air. The sky flickers, briefly, and below, the town blinks. For a second, everyone stops moving. Their heads tilt, their eyes open wide, and in every window, your face appears. Not quite you. Taller, pale, shadowless, smiling. You step back. The bell cracks. A fracture down its center. The floor shakes. And then, everything goes still. You wake on the roof of your house. Dawn, birdsong, shadows. You check your wrist. The red string is still there. The bell on your wall is gone. You look out. The town is normal. More real than you remember. People laugh. Children shout. The midwife waves from her garden. But you don't wave back. Because you know this isn't the end. It's the reset. And you've seen what happens when the shadows start to thin again. You take out the shard. It's blank. No reflection. Just a thin crack down the center. Historians argue still about mass amnesia in medieval towns. Entire villages that suddenly rewrote their own past. Forgotten festivals. Lost names. Holidays celebrated on the wrong days. But in one dusty codex, a monk writes, "We did not forget. We were made to. And one day, we will be made to again." You keep your bell. You light a candle every night. And you wait. Because next time, they'll remember you. You try to live normally. You really do. You join the others at the well. You buy bread from the baker, freshly warm and not turning to dust this time. You smile when the blacksmith jokes about the heat, and you even find yourself laughing. But something always feels off. The shadows are back, yes, but they're too perfect, too obedient. They move exactly as they should. No delay, no flicker, no hesitation. And one afternoon, while sweeping the doorstep, you realize your shadow is blinking, and you're not. You freeze. Slowly turn. It stands just right, but now you're watching it, and something about it knows. Its posture stiffens, the head tilts, but not like a person tilting in curiosity, like a mask slipping. You walk inside. You sit by the fire, and you try not to look behind you for the rest of the day. The midwife returns at dusk. No explanation. She knocks once. Enters. Sits. She looks thinner, paler. She says, "They took me somewhere." You ask where. She says, "Nowhere." And she means it literally. There was nothing, not even dark, not even silence, just absence. She clutches your hand. Her grip is too cold. "Don't let them thin it again," she whispers. "Don't let them ring it." You ask, "Ring what?" She only says, "The 13th bell." That night you dream of the tower. You're inside it, alone, no steps, just a rope descending from the dark above. You hear 12 chimes, then a pause. Then, a note you've never heard before. Low, wretched, long, a Teasen Harmodic. You wake screaming. The rope is in your hand. You find the midwife in the morning, sitting in the square. She's staring at her own shadow, her brow furrowed. "It's not mine," she says. You look closer. Her shadow is wearing a hood. She isn't. She starts to hum. Not the lullaby. Something else. You recognize it. The tune from the shard. You grab her hand. She flinches, and her skin slips, only for a second. But underneath you see stone. You see wall. You see door. And then she's just the midwife again. She blinks, says nothing. But you both know she didn't come back alone. The town begins to change. Not visibly, not all at once, but structurally. You notice a window where there wasn't one before. a chimney that now curves slightly left. The chapel bell is taller, the steps to the tower longer. And the gate is gone. Where it once stood is just an open path leading to fog. You try to tell the others. They look confused. They say the gate was never there. But you remember, it was iron, rusted, hung with herbs in spring, shut tight with 3 locks on feast days. Now, nothing. You walk the path into the fog. Just a few feet, then you stop. Because you hear your own voice whispering back, "Not yet." You mark your own door, not with a red string this time. That didn't help. You use something older. You draw the shape from the shard's reflection. It burns a little as you carve it, just into the wood, above the frame. It doesn't glow, it doesn't pulse, but the wind doesn't touch your door again, and no children stand singing on your step. For now. The next time the curfew bell rings, it's real. Loud, brass, high in the air. People scurry, doors slam, shutters close. The midwife grabs your arm on your way home. "Do you know what this means?" she asks. You nod. The veil is thinning. She looks grim. "Number, that was last time. This time," she doesn't finish, just places something in your hand. A nail, blackened, crooked, still warm. You don't ask what it's for. You just pocket it. Because in this town, you collect things like that. Charms, warnings, weapons, truths. Historians write that the Black Death changed more than the population. It shifted how people thought about the night. Towns started locking gates earlier. Streets grew narrower, windows smaller. The world began to turn inward. What they don't write, what they can't, is what survivors whispered, that the plague wasn't the first visitor. It was just the most obvious. Before the rats, before the boils, before the priests weeping in the streets, there were the bells, and the ones who came when the world forgot how to sleep safely. You hear the chime again, but not in your ears, in your bones, low, subsonic, like a drum played under your ribs, and when you breathe out, you see dust, but not your breath. Ash. The ash lingers longer each time you breathe. You try to ignore it, try to sweep it away like dirt from the step. But every morning, there's more. On the windowsill, in the folds of your blanket, sometimes in your mouth. It tastes like old parchment, like forgotten prayers, and when you spit it out, it lands in the exact shape of a bell. The midwife stops visiting. You go to her house. She's there, rocking in her chair, eyes open, unblinking, a bell on her lap, cracked, silent. When you touch her shoulder, she speaks, but not to you. "To whom it may concern," she murmurs. "I return myself. Let my absence be enough." And then her lips seal themselves shut. No line, no scar, just skin, smooth and unbroken. She continues rocking. You back away. You don't go back. More doors begin to vanish. Not close. Vanish. Flat planks replaced with featureless stone. Windows sealed from the inside with glass that reflects nothing. Even the chapel's steeple curls in slightly, like it's listening. You start drawing maps. Of the real town, the one you remember. Each time, something else is gone. Not removed, not stolen, just forgotten. You visit the blacksmith. You ask about the square. He frowns. What square? He's standing in it. You point. He looks around, laughs awkwardly. "Ah, right, this patch of road. Not much of a square, is it?" You don't argue. You just nod and cross his name off your list. That night you dream of the well, but it's deeper than before. Much deeper. A voice echoes from it, not calling up, but calling down. Like something beneath the world is calling itself home. You lower a stone. It never hits bottom. You wake with dirt under your fingernails and a small rock in your palm, carved with the number 13. You nail it to your door, just above the sigil. It hums for a moment, then stops. But from then on, you see fewer birds, fewer cats, less sound. The town is quieting again, as if the world is folding in around your house, piece by piece. The cobbler forgets your name. The baker stops handing you bread. Children walk past you like you're a tree. Only one person sees you anymore. The child with no shadow. He never speaks. He just stands, watching from the far corner of the square, one hand always in his pocket, the other missing, not gloved, not bandaged, just gone, like someone erased it from the air around him. You decide to leave, just for a day, just to walk beyond the invisible gate. You pack a satchel, bread, water, the shard, the nail. You walk the fog path. Each step makes the world behind you quieter. The bird song cuts out, the wind stills, you feel weightless. Then you hear it, your name. Whispered, once, twice, from all sides, then silence, and then footsteps. You spin, no one, just a trail of shadows on the fog, not cast by bodies, just the shadows. Walking, they move past you, dozens, all sizes, all ages, all facing the same direction. You turn to follow, but a hand grabs your wrist. The midwife, no longer pale, no longer fading. She's whole again, stronger, eyes glowing faint blue. She says, "They were never after us." You ask who then? She says, "They're walking to the bell." You ask, "What bell?" She smiles, sad. "The 13th one." You return to the town. It's smaller now, fewer houses. The roads are narrower, the sky dimmer, even at noon. You pass a mirror. You cast two reflections. One smiles, one doesn't. You don't look back. Historians have no record of the 13th bell. But in some ruined towns, those abandoned and never resettled, archaeologists find strange anomalies. Towers with 13 floors, altars with 13 grooves, tombs with no bodies, only bells. And always, somewhere in the rubble, a single word scratched into stone. Remember. That night, you light no candles. You let the dark sit beside you. You hum the lullaby, not to summon, but to remind yourself you still can. The wind doesn't knock. The door stays shut. But the bell rings anyway. Not from outside, not even from the walls, from beneath the floorboards. You lie down, place your ear to the wood, and hear your own heartbeat in harmony with the bell. The floor is breathing, not rising and falling like a chest. No, it pulses. Slow, wet, organic. You press your palm to the wood. It's warm, and not the kind of warmth left by sunlight or fire. It's the kind of warmth that says there's something living beneath you. You whisper, "I hear you," and something knocks back. 3 times. Not a demand, not a threat, just acknowledgement, like it's been listening too. You don't scream, you don't run, because what would you be running from? A sound? A memory? A bell that shouldn't exist? You sit by the hearth and take out the shard. You stare into it. For the first time in days, you see something other than yourself. It's the square, but not the way it is now. It's the square as it once was, teeming with life, with stalls, with festivals, with dancing, and at the center, the well. Only now, there's something crawling up from inside it, not fast, not violent, just slow and certain. It looks like you, but the mouth is open too wide, and the eyes are sealed shut with wax. You blink, and the image disappears. The shard has cracked again, deeper this time. You place it down gently, then walk outside. The air is thick, like breathing through wet wool. You move through the square, as silent as a thought, and you see them. The shadows, they've returned, only they're not hiding anymore. They walk, some alone, some in pairs, all silent, no faces, no feet. They pass you without pause. One brushes your sleeve, you shiver, but nothing happens, yet. At the chapel, the bell tower is lit from within, but there are no flames, only glow, software blue, like moonlight trapped in glass. You climb the steps. They go on longer than you remember. 3 flights, then 4, then 13. You count them. You know, the town is folding into itself. At the top, you find the bell. Not the old cracked one, a new one. Perfect, silver, polished like water. No rope or no striker, just suspended in the center of the belfry. You reach toward it. The air hums. The moment your fingers get close, it tolls. But only in your head. It doesn't move, doesn't sway. But the sound is deafening. A single, clean note. Your ears don't ring. Your teeth do. And your thoughts, every one of them, spill out of you like dust from a broken jar. You fall, not physically. You're still standing, but you fall. Through time, through memory. You land in your own childhood, watching the old bell tower from a distance. You're 5. You're laughing. The tower has no top. You never noticed before. You look up. There's no sky, only dark. Then, you're back in the belfry, bleeding from the nose. Your ears hiss. The bell is silent again, but you're different now. You've heard it, and that means it can find you. Anywhere, anytime. You descend the tower. The town is brighter, too bright. The sky is white. The cobbles gleam, and everyone is smiling, frozen, mid-step, mid-laugh, mid-blink, a scene carved in wax. You shout, nothing moves, until you notice one thing. Your shadow is gone again, but it's not lost. It's moved. It's standing across the square, facing you. Its hands are clasped, like in prayer or restraint, and behind it, the other shadows, hundreds, lined up like a congregation, waiting. For what? For you. You take one step forward. The shadows step back, perfectly timed, perfectly choreographed, a dance they've done before, and then they bow, all of them. You ask, why me? Your voice is too loud in the silence. One shadow lifts its hand, points to the bell tower, points to you, then to the well. You approach it, the same one from your dream, now covered. The stone lid sealed with wax and red string. You place your hand on it. It's breathing too. Slow, patient, then crack. A fracture runs through the seal. From beneath you hear a voice. Yours, but younger. Let me out. Historians sometimes note wells in the center of towns being sealed without explanation, often after plagues, or fires, or long winters. Some were believed cursed, some just forgotten. But a few rare texts whisper of wells that were not dug, but found. Wells that were always there, waiting, not for water, but for return. You leave it sealed, for now. But you know how this ends. It always comes back to the bell, to the town, to you. So you go home, you sit by the fire, and for the first time in days, you sleep. But you don't dream. You remember. And beneath the floorboards, the 13th bell hums softly, keeping time. You wake to find your home is shifted. Not the furniture, not the walls, the angles. The corners are too sharp, the ceiling too low. The windows look out onto streets that don't exist. You blink, and for a moment, you're not in your home at all. You're in the bell tower, kneeling, hands tied behind your back with red string. The bell above you hums. You whisper, no. And when you open your eyes again, the house is normal. Almost. Your shadow is on the ceiling. The bell tolls again, but only you hear it. The town moves as if nothing's wrong. The smith works, the children laugh, the chapel sings its early prayers. But their words are wrong. Not Latin, not English, not language, just syllables that fill space, like an actor mouthing lines in a dream. You step into the bakery. The baker turns and smiles, but her eyes are white, not glowing, just empty. You ask for bread. She gives you ash. Still warm, you nod, take it, and step outside. At noon, the sun flickers. Not a cloud, just off, then on again. Your shadow stutters on the ground, then multiplies. For a moment, there are 3 of you, then 2, then 1 again, and they're all smiling. You look up. The bell tower is gone, not destroyed, just missing. Where it stood, there's only sky. Blank, like something deleted a page from a book. You run to the square. The well is open. You should leave. Every instinct tells you to. But there's a new feeling now, like gravity reversed. Like something wants you to climb down, so you do. You tie a rope around a tree. You lower yourself into the dark, deeper than it should go. Walls smooth, no water, no smell, just descent, until you reach a platform and find a room carved into the earth. Inside, a bell. Small, handheld, just like the one from your wall, but whole, clean, resting on a stone altar, and carved beneath it, ring only to remember. You hesitate, then pick it up. It's cold, but the moment you lift it, you're elsewhere. The square, but not yours. Not exactly. It's your town as it was centuries ago. Torches, cloaks, dirt roads, children laughing without fear, and at the center, a woman standing on a box, holding a bell. She rings it once, and the world around you freezes. People mid-step, birds mid-flight, smoke from chimneys caught in mid-air. She looks directly at you, though you know she shouldn't see you. She mouths a single word. Soon. Then you're back, in the well, alone. But the bell is still in your hand, now warm, now humming. You climb back to the surface. The town is silent. Every door closed. No wind. The sky's too still. The kind of stillness before a storm, only the storm doesn't come. Instead, a whisper from everywhere. Not words, just recognition. Like the town is aware of you now, and it's wondering why you came back. You run to the chapel, no one inside, but the air is charged, like static, and the pews are warped, bent toward the altar, as if pulled. You kneel. You place the bell on the stone and you say, I remember. Everything. The bells, the children, the faceless watchers. The reason for curfews. The reason people stayed inside after dark. The veil wasn't to protect us from the outside. It was to keep what's inside from getting out. Some medieval documents reference the keeping places. Rooms or wells or towers with no entrance, no record. Just empty spaces sealed with bells or prayers. Scholars dismiss them as allegories, metaphors for forgetting. But a few admit some towns really did disappear overnight with no warning. And in their place, just grass and bells. You walk home. The bell in your pocket now vibrates softly. Not warning, just breathing. You reach your door. The red string is gone. The symbol above it, melted. But inside, everything is in place. Your bed, your chair, your fire. You sit, you listen. No ringing, no footsteps, just silence. The town is waiting, so you wait too. And when night falls, you keep the bell beside your bed and close your eyes, not to sleep, but to watch. You don't sleep that night. You lie there, listening. The bell on the table next to you is quiet. Still, but you know it won't stay that way, because the silence outside is too complete. Even the wind has stopped pretending. You sit up, the fire has gone out, but the coals glow faintly, blue, not red. You pick up the bell, it hums in your hand. Then, somewhere just past the edge of hearing, a breath, long, a rattling, too large to belong to anything with skin. You whisper, "I remember." And the bell warms in response, like approval, like readiness. You dress, quietly, not for travel, but for confrontation. You light a candle. Its flame is steady, no flicker, like even the fire is holding its breath. You step outside. The town is wrong, tilted, compressed, as if someone tried to fold it up and gave up halfway. The street where the blacksmith once stood now runs uphill into the sky. The chapel floats a few inches off the ground. You walk anyway. Each step leaves no echo. Each building watches you, not with eyes, but with awareness. The town knows your name now, and it wants to see what you'll do. At the center of the square, the well yawns open. Steam rises from it, not mist, but breath, and at the edge stands the shadow. Yours, no longer mimicking, now leading. It turns and gestures, not beckoning, but presenting. The rope, the descent, the truth. You step forward, bell in hand. You climb down again, but this time the shaft changes as you go. The stones grow smoother, the air colder. You descend past torch sconces, long dead, past runes, past carvings of people with their mouths sewn shut. And then you stop. Not because you choose to, because there is no more down. You've reached it. The 13th chamber. It's round, pale, lit by nothing, but not dark. In the center stands a pedestal, and on it, a face. Yours. Carved from stone, mouth open, eyes closed. You step closer. As you do, your own mouth opens, without permission, and a sound escapes, not a scream, not a cry, a chime, one long note. The room responds. The walls ripple. The ceiling melts into stars. And you remember. This has happened before. Not to you. Not in your lifetime, but to someone like you. Someone who stayed up too late. Someone who asked the wrong questions. Someone who heard the bell. In the corners of the chamber, things begin to move. Not creatures, not people. Ideas, embodied. Shapes that are impossible. A robe with no body, a mask with no face. A gate made of memory. They approach, but they don't threaten. They bow. Each one places something at your feet. A candle, a string, a name. You pick them up. You know what to do. You climb back to the surface, slower this time. The sky is gone. Not night, just absence, as if someone painted the world black. But the town is waiting. And in every window, a single candle burns. In every doorway, a red string hangs. And from every rooftop, a bell, small, handheld, silent. You ring yours once, and everything breathes again. The townsfolk emerge. No longer hollow, no longer smiling, just tired, real. The blacksmith wipes his brow. The baker gives you a nod. Even the children stop humming. They stare at you, and they remember, you've anchored the town. For now. But anchoring isn't the same as saving, because you know what's still down there. Waiting. Historians debate the role of ritual in medieval villages. Some believe bells were simply practical, markers of time, tools of order. But buried in the archives of abandoned monasteries are sketches of faces without mouths, of wells too deep, of a 14th bell, never forged, only heard. And sometimes drawings of you in clothes that don't exist yet, with a face no one's ever met, but holding a bell. Just like this one. You return home. You place the bell above your door. You redraw the mark. You light a candle with wax made from the string. And you sit, not to rest, not to watch, but to listen. Because the next time it rings, it won't be from the tower. It will be from within, and you'll be ready. Tonight, the town sleeps. For real. Not frozen, not paused. Sleep like you remember it. Quiet, heavy, filled with little sounds. Creaking beams, wind in the chimney, the soft exhale of someone dreaming. You sit by the window, not because you're afraid, because you finally understand what you're watching for. The night isn't dangerous because it's dark. It's dangerous because it remembers what came before the light. You hear footsteps. One pair. Slow. Measured. You don't flinch. You already know who it is. The midwife. She stands in your doorway, cloak damp with dew. But there's something different. She looks aged, not older, just more complete, like all the missing pieces of her finally came home. She smiles. Small. Tired. You sealed it, she says. You nod. For now. She holds something out. A box. Wooden. Heavy. Bound in red thread. You don't ask what's inside. You already know. It's the bell. The original. The one they tried to bury. The one that didn't forget how to ring. You take it. The box hums in your hands. She nods once and leaves. Doesn't say goodbye. Doesn't need to. The next few days are uneventful. Children return to school. The baker burns his loaves again. Someone paints flowers on the chapel door. Everything looks right, but under the surface, you feel it. The tension, like the whole town is waiting for a question to be asked, and they don't want to know the answer. On the seventh night, the string above your door snaps. You don't panic. You light the candle. You sit. The bell stays silent, but the walls shift. Slightly, not like before. No warping. This is subtler. The paintings tilt, the cracks realign, the hearth reshapes. You're not being hunted anymore. You're being measured. You open the box. The bell glows faintly. Not blue, not gold. A color you can't describe. The tone of an old memory you never lived. You ring it once. Nothing happens. Then outside you hear it. Another bell. Far away, the second chime. Then a third, one by one, all over town. Not from tower, from houses. Each person who remembered. They still have theirs, and they're ringing it too. Not in fear, in unity, in remembrance. Suddenly, the town shifts again. Only this time, it expands. You feel it under your feet. Streets stretching into directions that don't exist on any map. You look out your window and see a second tower, familiar but mirrored, as if your world has a twin, and now the boundary between them is soft. You step outside, walk toward the new street. You reach the place where the square splits. Left is yours. Right is something else. Same houses, same wealth, but darker, more perfect. Too perfect. You glance down. Your shadow splits again. One side leans towards your town. The other begins to walk into the mirrored one. You chase it. Follow it past still bakeries, past frozen townsfolk who aren't yours. Their faces are almost right, but not quite. Eyes too wide. Hands too clean. No scars, no dirt, no breath. You reach the chapel. The door opens before you touch it. Inside is you, but not you, dressed in white, bell in hand, eyes closed, mouth sewn shut, standing in front of a congregation of faceless watchers. They don't turn, they don't blink, they hum. Not a song, a frequency. You feel your thoughts go soft, like cloth soaked in oil. Then a voice beside you, don't listen. It's the midwife, but from this town. Her face is perfect, symmetrical, false. She reaches for your bell. You pull back, and everything snaps. The watchers vanish. The chapel bends inward. You're standing alone. Bell clutched in your fist. The twin town has vanished. You're back, but you know now. This isn't the only town. this isn't the only you, and each one has a bell and a well and a gate, and when they forget their curfews, when they stop lighting candles, when they stop teaching children to stay inside at night, it begins again. Historians dismissed the idea of echo towns, myths of identical villages that appear in fog or reflection. But a few Renaissance maps show duplicates, same structures, same names, drawn in faded ink beside real places, and always labeled for memory, not in memory, for. That night, you sleep on the floor. No pillow, no blanket, just earth, to remind yourself where you are, who you are, and what you must do. When you dream, it's not of shadow, it's of bells. So many bells, all ringing in unison, not as a warning, as a call to stand watch, to remember, to stay awake. You don't wake up, you come back, like surfacing from deep water, eyes open, breath slow. And for a moment, you don't know which version of the town you're in, but then you smell smoke from the baker's oven. Hit the soft creak of the chapel bell in the wind. Feel the roughness of real wood beneath your fingertips. You're home. This time, the bell is still on your chest, warm, pulsing, like a second heartbeat. You lift it to your ear. No sound, but when you hold it to the wall, you hear whispers, not words, just a rhythm, 13 beats, then silence, and a soft breath that says, soon. Outside, the town stirs, but it's wrong again. Too many doors, windows in places that never had them, houses with too many steps. And in the sky, a second sun. Dimensions pale, not warm, just watching. You run to the square. People are frozen mid-movement again. You try to shout, but your voice comes out muted, like speaking through linen. You wave, clap, stomp, nothing. And then you notice. You have no shadow, not lost, not stolen, just reassigned. You find it near the well, standing upright, head tilted. It mirrors your posture, but not your movements. You raise your hand. It doesn't follow. You back away. It takes a step forward, and when it opens its mouth, you hear the bell. Not aloud. Inside your head. Suddenly, a hand grabs yours. Real. Warm. The midwife. The real one. Not perfect. Not glowing. Wrinkled. Breathing hard. She pulls you behind a wall. Whispers, "We didn't leave fast enough." You ask, "What is it?" She says, "A fold. A wrinkle in the world. When towns forget, when bells are buried, when curfews become stories, the fold begins." She leads you to her home. It's changed too. Walls curving in, shelves floating, a window looking out onto another version of the square. Inside, she unrolls a scroll. It's a map, not of land, of echoes. 23 circles, towns that rang the bell and didn't survive. She draws a line through another. 24, she says. Yours is the last unmarked one. You ask, what happens when we're 25? She says nothing. But the bell in your hand begins to hum. You step outside. The sky's darker now, but not like night, like curtains being drawn over something. People begin to stir. They move wrong. Arms swing out of sync. Faces turned too far. The baker's smile splits too wide. The blacksmith swings his hammer without touching metal. And the children, they sing the lullaby backwards. The midwife says, "We can still fix it." You ask how. She hands you something wrapped in cloth. It's your name, carved into a tablet, split down the middle. "You've been written," she says. "That's why they can find you." You ask what to do. She points to the bell. To unwritten something, it must be rung where it began. You know where that is. The bottom of the well. You descend again. No rope this time, just steps carved in angles your feet don't like. You go down for what feels like hours. The air grows thin, the walls grow smooth. Then you step into the chamber. But it's changed, larger, louder. The bells are all here now, lining the walls, some cracked, some glowing, some still ringing faintly. And at the center, your shadow, holding your tablet, smiling with your face. Eyes too full of light, it raises the bell. Your bell, and rings it. The sound doesn't pierce your ears, it opens your memory. You see every echo town, you live every life. A baker in a place with red trees, a midwife in a land of smoke, a child who never learned fear. Each one ends the same way. A bell, a well, a folding. You drop to your knees. The chamber hums. Your shadow steps forward, places the tablet in front of you, and waits. You lift your bell, and you do the only thing you can. You ring it once, twice, 13 times, each note louder than the last. The room collapses inward, not violently, like a book being closed, and when the last note fades, you're outside, lying in the square. Sky clear, town whole, people real. No one remembers the folding, but you do, and the bell in your hand is now silent. Its job is done, for now. Historians still puzzle over towns that vanish and return, buildings reappearing with fresher stone, churches moved by inches, old graves filled with bells instead of bones. But in every account, one detail remains. Someone always survives. Someone always remembers, and they never sleep well again. You walk home. The red string hangs above your door. The symbol is intact. You hang the silent bell above your bed, and you rest. Not easy, but certain. Because the real reason for the curfews, it was never about what's out there. It was about keeping the bells quiet, and the bells are quiet. Because you remembered. The bell hasn't rung in weeks. You keep it on your windowsill now. Sometimes the wind moves it, but it never makes a sound. Not even a whisper. The town breathes like it used to. Slow, easy. Doors creak for normal reasons. Shadows behave. And yet, you keep looking up at the sky, because the second sun never really went away. It just dimmed. A pale ghost of a star, always hovering just above the real one. And some mornings, it blinks. Only once. But that's enough. The midwife visits again. She brings you honey bread and a small wax doll. She doesn't explain. You don't ask. But when you place the doll on the hearth, it begins to hum. Low. Steady. You whisper, "Is this another bell?" She smiles. Number, just a memory anchor. You ask what for. She says, for when this town forgets again. Because they will. You can already see it happening. The baker skips his candle. The blacksmith tears down the old sigil from his forge. Children giggle when they say the word curfew, like it's a spell from a storybook. You understand now. Forgetting is natural. Remembering takes effort, and most people are tired. You begin writing things down, not in books, too easy to burn. You etch symbols into stone. You whisper lullabies into jars of air sealed with wax. You teach the children not how to fear, but how to listen. You show them how to make the red string. You bury 13 bells in a circle around the square. Some nights you hear them ringing beneath the soil, just softly, just enough. Then one evening, a traveler arrives. Dusty cloak, kind eyes, voice like gravel. He asks for food. You give him bread and a place by the fire. He sees your bell on the shelf and says, "Ah, yours hasn't cracked yet." You pause. He nods toward the hearth. "I've seen a few, never that clean." You ask how many towns he's visited. He doesn't answer. Just pulls a small pouch from his side, opens it. Inside, shards. Bell fragments, dozens. Each one etched with a name, some in languages you don't recognize, some in yours. he says. They ring, they break, they fade. But someone always carries the sound forward. Then he adds another fragment to the pouch. You ask why he collects them. He replies, to keep the echo from becoming the origin. You ask what that means. He smiles. You'll know when you hear it backward. And then he leaves. That night, the dream returns. You're standing at the bottom of the well. Only now there's a door, not stone, wood, fresh, painted with your name, not carved, written. And behind it, a child's laughter and the sound of pages turning. You wake with a wax doll beside your head. It's facing the window. You turn it back. It turns again. On its own, you go outside. The town is silent, not dead, not empty, just watching. You feel it. The fold beginning again, only this time slower, like it's waiting for permission. You stand in the square. The well is sealed, the stones around it warm, and the red string tied around the post is fraying. You reach for the bell. It feels different, lighter. You ring it. Once, no echo, just silence. Then, your name, spoken by everything, the wind, the doors, the earth, all saying it at once. Not accusing, not calling, just remembering. You realize then, you are no longer the keeper of the bell. You are the bell, a vessel, a sound waiting to be made, a memory held in flesh. And when the town forgets again, you will be what wakes them. Historians write of individuals who seem to hold entire legends inside them. Figures who arrived during disasters, said the right words, and vanished. Sometimes with a bell, sometimes without, but always right before the town disappeared. Or came back. You walk home. No candle this time. You leave the door open, you lie on the floor, the wax doll in your hand, and you hum. Not the lullaby. Something older. Something you don't remember learning, but it fits. It always did. And above you, the ceiling pulses. Once. Twice. 13 times. Then silence. The doll begins to melt. Not from heat. From use. It was never meant to last. You hold it anyway. Sticky wax softening in your fingers. It hums one last time, then goes quiet. And for the first time in weeks, your house breathes. The floorboards shift, the window panes flex. The door swings open and closed with no wind, like your home is adjusting itself around you, making space, preparing, because something is returning. Or maybe it never left. The town is quiet in that dreamlike way again. People walk the streets, but they leave no footprints. You greet them. They nod, but their eyes don't meet yours. They flicker, like candlelight about to gutter out. You try to follow the blacksmith, but he walks into a wall and keeps going, like it isn't there. He vanishes into brick. The wall ripples, resets. A moment later, you see him hammering iron like nothing happened. You step back, then you see the baker. She blinks, and suddenly she's across the square. Half a second. No movement in between. You blink too, and the town is rearranged. The well is gone. The chapel is upside down. The sky is paper thin, and behind it, you glimpse the machine. It isn't metal. It isn't turning. It's a memory made of bells and wax and red string, of every curfew broken, every door left open, every lullaby forgotten. It grinds slowly, not to power something, to hold something back. And now it's cracking, because people have forgotten why they were ever afraid of the dark. You wake, heart pounding. The wax doll is gone. In its place, a string, red, freshly tied. You follow it outside. It runs down the street, through alleyways, around corners. It leads you to the chapel, the real one, still upright, still humming. The door opens before you knock. And inside is everyone, every villager, every traveler, every echo, sitting silently in pews, staring forward at the altar where your bell rests, still waiting. The midwife stands beside it. She's aged again, deep lines, heavy eyes. She gestures. You step forward, no words, just knowing. The bell wants to ring, but it can't. Not alone, not anymore. It needs a second sound. You lift the bell. It glows softly in your hand. The congregation doesn't move, but the chapel does. The walls bend outward. The ceiling peels away. You're beneath open sky now, and both suns, one warm, one cold. And somewhere between them, a tear begins to form. Not fabric, reality. You feel it in your teeth, in your ribs, in your name. The tear opens, and behind it, the other towns, all of them, layered like pages, each flickering, each fading, each screaming silently to be remembered. You ring the bell 13 times, each tone a name, each chime a binding. You don't stop until your arms ache, until your throat tastes like iron, until the tear slows, not closed, but sealed, for now. Historians write of mass silence, entire towns holding vigils without explanation. They call it the 13th pause. No bells, no voices, no clocks, just stillness. And afterward, those towns always changed, sometimes subtly, sometimes not, but always permanently. The townsfolk rise. They smile. This time it reaches their eyes. They file out without speaking, back to their homes, back to their lives. Some light candles, some sweep their doorsteps, some whisper prayers in old languages no one teaches anymore. But they remember now, not all of it, not perfectly, but enough. And you walk home with the bell in your hand, lighter, quieter. You place it back above your door, then turn to the mirror. You have a shadow again. It waves at you. You don't wave back. You just nod, because that part of you knows the schedule. That night, as you drift off, you hear a voice in your ear. Yours, but younger. And it says, "Next time, don't wait so long." Then the bell hums once more, a low, long note, and the stars above your ceiling rearrange into a clock, with no hands, just a circle, and 13 quiet dots. You no longer count time by days. Now it's by rings. Each chime, each echo, each soft vibration in the bone of your home marks a shift. Not forward, not backward, just deeper. Because the town doesn't age the way it used to. The trees grow, but their rings are spirals. The children laugh, but never taller. And your reflection, sometimes older, sometimes not yours. But you wake, you eat, you teach. Because someone has to. You've started writing again, not in ink, in sound. You hum songs that were never sung aloud before. You whistle the shape of old roads. You ring the bell over open earth and listen to how the silence changes. And underground, you begin to notice answers. A longer pause after the 4th chime, a cold rush after the 7th, a whisper that says almost after the 9th. Not voices, not ghosts, just memory itself getting brave. Then, one morning, the baker's child knocks at your door. She holds out a bell. Not hers, not yours, but very, very old. Iron, not bronze. Crooked. The sound box cracked, its clapper replaced with a tooth. She says she found it under her bed, wrapped in wool. It hums when she touches it. You feel the air grow sharp when it enters your house. You ask her where it came from. She shrugs. It was just there, waiting. You place the bell in a wooden box. You bind it in red thread, but the sound seeps through anyway. Not loud, not even constant, just predictable. Every hour, on the half hour, it clicks. Not rings, clicks, like a nail tapping glass. It's counting. You don't know what, but it's not for you. Not yet. At the square, the well has changed again. Not deeper, not darker, just hollow. You drop a stone, no echo, no splash, just absorption. And sometimes, when you turn your back, the edge is closer. You measure it. It doesn't help. The next morning, it's further away again, like the well is breathing or stalking. The townspeople begin to forget again. They talk about the bell like it's a story you made up. They joke about the fold. They hang lanterns instead of candles. And when the sun blinks, no one notices, except you and the baker's child. She watches the sky like she's reading it. One day, she draws a symbol in the dust, 13 dots in a spiral. You ask where she saw it. She says, "I didn't see it. I heard it." That night you stay awake, not out of fear, out of curiosity. You set your bell beside the iron one. You sit, you listen. Midnight passes. Nothing. Then, click, the iron bell. Then, yours. Then silence. And then, a third sound. Not from either bell, not from the air, from the mirror. You walk to it, touch it, cold. It fogs, and written in the condensation, "It's not the last time." You wipe it away, but the words remain, etched into the glass. You turn, and your shadow is gone again. Historians never agree on the origin of the third tone. Some think it's a natural harmonic from certain metal alloys. Others claim it's psychological, mass hysteria triggered by ringing rituals. But there are letters, private ones, from 1427, 1649, 1732, 1891, all describing the same thing. The bell I buried still clicks. A new sound walks behind it. We are being remembered by something older than forgetting. You ring your bell again, not for defense, not for sealing, but for signal. And you wait. Not long. Across the square, lights begin to flicker. Candles this time. Red string reappears. Doorways hum, and from beneath the earth, a sound like a sigh. The town is stirring, not to live, not to fear, but to prepare. You understand now. You're not keeping the fold out. You're guiding it in. On your terms, with your boundaries, with your bells. Because forgetting is easy, but now, the town knows who you are, and you know who you've become. Not the last, not the first, just the next curator of what waits in the dark. You lie down. No words, no dreams, just echoes, and they hum you to sleep. The town wakes before the sun, not from roosters, not from church bells, but from the click, that tiny, deliberate sound the iron bell makes. Every 30 minutes, every 30 heartbeats if you're really listening. The baker hears it in his dough. The blacksmith hears it between hammer strikes. The children hear it in the wind and stop mid-game, staring at nothing. And no one speaks of it, but they all know something is counting down. You wake to silence, which means the bell has stopped. You sit up, feel the air, stiff, like cloth stretched too tight. You reach for your bell, warm, buzzing like a trapped fly. You lift it, and it rings itself. Once, no movement, no effort, just need. Outside, the sky has no clouds, no sun, only the spiral. 13 dots, faint, perfect, burned into the sky like holes in paper. The townspeople gather in the square, not because they were called, because they remember now. They form a circle, hands joined, eyes forward, mouths closed. And at the center, you. The baker steps forward. In his hands, the tooth, the one from the iron bell. It's grown, longer, curved, veined like a root. He says nothing, just offers it. You take it. It pulses, wet, alive. You place it inside your bell. It fits, snaps into place with a sound too deep for your ears, and everything around you shifts. The town stretches, houses widen, shadows spill across daylight. Doors open inward and keep going, like they're folding into their own memories. The ground beneath your feet tilts, but you don't fall because you are the center now, the anchor, the reason the town still has shape. The midwife approaches. In both hands she holds the scroll, the map of echoes. It's longer now, unrolling past her knees across the cobblestones. The final town, yours, glows faintly. She hands it to you. It burns cold in your hands, ink dripping upward. You watch as new towns appear on the page. Places not yet folded, places waiting, and you understand. This isn't a story of stopping the fold. It's a story of guiding it. You lift the bell. You ring it 13 times. The sound bends the square, not destroys, realigns. Each tone pulls something tighter. The walls, the roads, the people, each chime a stitch in an unraveling world. By the last ring, the spiral above you has begun to turn. Not fast, but fast enough. And with it, time begins to rethread. You feel your bones adjust, your name shorten, your breath lengthen. You're becoming something less personal and more useful. From the well, a shape rises. Not a person, not a shadow. A form, tall, threaded with red string. Hollow where a face might go, arms made of empty sleeves, hands ending in chimes. It walks with the cadence of memory. No steps, just recall. It bows to you. You bow back. It passes you something, a mirror, small, oval, warm. When you look into it, you see every time you have died and returned, not as punishment, as repetition. Historians ignore the mirror myth, too esoteric, too unfalsifiable. But scattered across European folklore are stories of last reflections, mirrors shown to chosen people during town crises. The result? The witness always either leaves forever or never leaves again. You don't smash the mirror. You pocket it. You keep walking. The townspeople follow. Behind the chapel, a door now exists. It wasn't there yesterday. It won't be there tomorrow. But tonight, it waits. Red wood. 13 locks. No handle. You lift the bell, the clapper now tooth and nail. You ring it, and the door unravels. Not opens. Unravels. Like a story told backward. Behind it, a staircase made of memory. You descend. So do the others. Together. At the bottom, the air is different. It tastes like before. Before bells. Before doors. Before shape. You reach a room. Inside, 13 chairs. 13 bells. 13 people. But only 12 faces. The last seat is yours. You sit. You understand. You are now part of the architecture of remembering. Not a townsperson, not a traveler, a fixed point, a fold in the fold. And when the time comes, you will ring your bell, and another town will survive. Maybe just one more time, but maybe that's enough. The 13th seat accepts your weight like it always knew you'd arrive. Around you, the 12 others remain still, not frozen, held. Each one shaped by their own town, their own version of remembering. One wears feathers, another weeps constantly but never wipes the tears. A third has a bell embedded in their chest like a second rib cage. None of them look at you. None of them need to. You are part of the design now. In the room, it isn't a room anymore. It's a mechanism. The chairs begin to rotate, not fast, but with purpose. The bells above each seat swing gently. The sound they make isn't harmony, it's language, a dialect built on vibration, decay, and memory. You feel the sound wrap around your name, not crush it, not erase it, just wear it like a coat. And you finally understand you're not protecting towns from the fold, you're preparing towns for it. Back on the surface, things go quiet, not empty, reverent. The town slows its breathing. The wind forgets how to blow. The stars stop blinking for just one night, and beneath it all, the mechanism clicks forward one notch. The baker wakes from a dream he'll never remember. The blacksmith cries without knowing why. A child draws the spiral in her porridge. The well sighs. Down below, you're shown the archive. Not paper, not tablets, people. Rows and rows of sleepers, suspended in air. Each one dreaming a town, each one dreaming you. You pass them, you listen, you hear towns that never had fire, villages where bells were grown from trees, cities lit only by singing. Some are broken, some are still dreaming. Some have begun to wake, and you understand what must happen next. You're given a choice, not of what to do, but of where to go. One bell detaches from the ceiling and falls into your hand. It's silver, cracked. Inside it is a small stone with a spiral carved on both sides. It hums in a voice you don't recognize, but that speaks your language. You whisper, "Where are we going?" It replies, "To the last town that thinks it's the first." You rise from the chair. The others don't follow. They never do. Each of them only moves when it's their town's turn, and yours is next. The staircase reappears. You climb it backward, feet first, breath reversed, heartbeat ticking counterclockwise. When you reach the surface, the town is recalibrated. The buildings lean in. The streets curve toward you. They know what's coming. They always did. They just needed a shape to attach the memory to. That shape is you. You ring the bell once. The sky answers by opening, not cracking, not tearing, opening, like a page you never turned before. And through it, another town, unfamiliar, dusty, too bright, too quiet. No candles, no red string, no songs, just the empty frame of a curfew they've forgotten they ever had. You step through. Historians call this the pilgrimage of the Watcher. It appears in scattered folklore. A cloaked figure arriving in silence, walking the edges of new settlements, never speaking, only ringing a single bell. Afterward, those towns always change. Some become stronger, some vanish entirely. But the stories agree on one detail. They only ring the bell if they see someone else who remembers. You walk through the new town. Observe its bones. Its shadows are too long for the hour. Its wells too wide. Its children don't blink enough. You don't try to warn them. Not yet. You wait until the sky blinks once. Just once. And a girl in a faded cloak turns to you and says, "We used to be afraid of the dark, but then we forgot why." You offer her the silver bell. She doesn't ask what it is. She rings it once, and the earth shifts, ever so slightly. Enough. That night, you lie down in a burrowed bed. No candle, no red string, just the spiral carved into the wood above your head, and you sleep. Not deeply, but with purpose. Because tomorrow, another town dreams your name, and the bell is never silent for long. You wake before dawn. Not from sound, not from dream, from a feeling like someone softly pulled you out of sleep with 2 fingers behind your ribs. The bell is in your hand again. You don't remember picking it up. You never really put it down, did you? Outside, the borrowed town stretches in early silence. The streets are dusty, its houses too new. No cracks, no ivy, no forgotten rooms. It hasn't been folded yet, but it will be. You know this like you know your own name. Or rather, the name the bell gave you, because your real one. It's faded now, like the echo of a memory you no longer claim as yours. The girl from yesterday finds you at the well. She's different today. Less child, more purpose. Like memory has started shaping her already. She asks, "Will this town forget too?" You answer with the truth. Every town forgets. What matters is what they remember first when they wake. She nods, takes your hand, and you feel it. She has the shape. She could be a bell keeper, or an echo, or something new entirely. You hand her the scroll, just a piece, just enough. And you whisper, "When you see the spiral, don't run. Stand where others would flee, and listen." She repeats it, once, then turns to go. The town continues like towns do. Markets, prayers, gossip. Children chase each other down alleyways. No one mentions the strange figure walking the perimeter. No one dares to ask why every shadow points toward the square. You feel the pressure building, the curve of the fold. Not here yet, but circling. It always circles before it steps through. And the town. They're humming again. Songs they don't remember learning. Old lullabies about doors without hinges and bells without tongues. You taught no one. They remembered. From somewhere deeper. From before. That night, the second sun appears. Faint. Off to the side. Only visible in reflections. The townspeople glance at mirrors and flinch. Some turn them to the wall. Some crack them. One buries hers under a fig tree. But the spiral still appears. On bread crusts, in spilled ink, in the swirl of smoke from a chimney. It is inevitable. So you walk the perimeter again, and you hang 13 bells around the square, each one tied with a different thread. Red, gold, ash gray, and one made of hair. They sway in wind that hasn't arrived yet, and hum in harmony with the ground. Because now the town isn't sitting on soil, it's sitting on memory. And memory hums before it shatters. You ring your bell. Once, then a second time. On the third ring, the sky darkens in a line, straight across the middle. On the fourth, time slows. You watch a bird in mid-flap, frozen between two wing beats. The fifth ring pulls your name from your chest and scatters it like seeds. You let it go. You are only the keeper, not the story. The townspeople gather, not knowing why. They carry candles, not lit, just ready. They hum. And from their humming, the 13th tone begins to rise, not from a bell, not from any one throat, but from everyone, simultaneously. A sound no one taught them, a sound they recognize. And through it all, the spiral descends. No crashing, no chaos, just a soft folding of sky into sky, and then the town is gone. Not destroyed, changed, like paper turned to smoke, like a bell turned to silence, and in its place, a circle of ash, a single thread, and a girl, older now, holding a cracked bell in her hands. Historians refer to these events as the spiral towns. Places that appear on maps for a generation, then vanish. When rediscovered, nothing matches the original records. The layouts are wrong, the architecture impossible, the language half remembered, and always in the new town. Someone walks the perimeter, someone hums songs not in any book, someone wears a bell that never rings. You return to the archive. Not by stairs this time, just by turning once in place and being somewhere deeper. Your chair is waiting, but the archive has expanded. Hundreds of seats now, some full, some flickering, and you realize you are never the only one, just the one on duty. You sit. The mechanism begins to turn, and somewhere above, a child draws a spiral in the sand, and the bell hums in your hand. Warm. You don't hear the bell this time. You feel it, a slow tug behind your navel, like someone gently pulling you forward, not by rope, but by memory. You rise from the chair in the archive. The others do not look. They never do. This is your final shift. You've folded towns, taught children, wrung silence from the throats of bells. Now comes the last one, the town that won't return, not in stories, not in ruins, not even in mistakes. You arrive somewhere unfinished. No trees, no sky, no ground. Just the idea of a place forming around you like wet clay, walls thinking themselves into being, doors rehearsing their creaks. The spiral hasn't landed yet, but you can feel it turning in the air. And in the center of the unplace, a small bell. No thread, no clapper, just shape. Waiting for you, you walk to it, you kneel, you breathe your story into it. Not aloud, just exhaled between teeth and memory. The bell doesn't ring, it listens, then glows. Once, and suddenly, the town is there, fully formed, but not real. You know this because it has no fear. None of the doors are locked, none of the windows covered. There are no candles, no rules, no curfews. It is perfect, it is wrong. You walk its streets. The people smile too wide. Their steps make no sound. They touch without pressure, and every building is exactly the same shape, like someone copied one house and pasted it over and over. You stop in front of a bakery. The bread in the window is identical. Same cracks, same crust, same steam curl. You enter. Behind the counter is you, but younger, clean, bright, bell-less. This version looks up and says, "There's nothing to fear anymore. Isn't that wonderful?" And suddenly, you understand. This isn't a town, it's a trap. It's what happens when memory gets too clean, too efficient, when it tries to perfect the past instead of preserving it. You back away. The copy of you keeps smiling, but the smile doesn't reach the eyes. And behind the bakery walls, you hear other versions of yourself laughing. Cooking, calling out to invisible customers. Too many. Too much you. You run. The streets twist. Not to stop you. To convince you to stay. To convince you there's nothing left to remember. That you've done your job. That the fear was never real. But you remember the dark. You remember the click. You remember the crack in the second sun. You reach the center again. The small bell is pulsing now. Straining. Trying to ring. But it needs a voice. Yours. You lift it. You whisper your name, not the one the archive gave you. The real one, the first one. And the bell shatters. Finally, the town screams, but not in sound. In shape. The buildings bend into angles that don't exist. The sky reverses. The people blur into lines and smear into one another until every face looks exactly the same. And at the edge of it all, a child sits in the dust, drawing spirals with her finger. She doesn't look up, but she says, "Will it hurt?" You kneel. You say, "Just for a moment. Then it will all be quiet." She nods, and the spiral she draws begins to glow. You walk to the well. You knew it would be there. It always is. You drop the bell's remains into the mouth. This time, it echoes. Once, twice, 13 times. Then silence, then stillness, then a soft folding, like pages turning back into a tree. You don't return to the archive. There's no need. You don't remember what chair was yours. You don't remember your face, only the hum, only the red string, only the cold tooth inside the bell. Historians never find this town. Not in ruins, not in whispers, not even in the spiral archives, but sometimes. When they walk unfamiliar streets just after dusk, they hear a bell ring 13 times and see a flicker, a figure made of almost memory, folding itself into the dark. And for a moment, they remember something they've never known. And they forget to be afraid. You lie down, not in a bed, not in a room, in a memory that no longer needs to be kept. You close your eyes. The sky above you folds into a spiral, and the last bell hums. Once more, and then never again. Now rest, dreamer. You've walked enough towns. You've remembered what others tried to forget, and you've become the silence between chimes, the hush before the fold, the reason we're still here. Let go. There's nothing else to hold. Just this quiet, this breath, this night. Shh. End of script. Sweet dreams.